Hey, it's another week and it's another podcast. And this time it's post Shaq attack. Welcome, Matt.
Hi.
If you're joining us on the YouTube, which we do have a YouTube channel, and you can see this instead of listen to this, Matt is wearing his luchador mask. Tell us about it for those who can't see it.
There's not really much of a story to it. It's very colorful. It's a little tight around the nose, and it's sort of squeezing the back of my head. You know what? It's the hair. If I didn't have to squeeze the afro in here, it might actually fit. But no, I thought it might pop for kids on the YouTube page. Yeah. Maybe we'll actually get some money from somebody.
Speaking of luchadors, I learned this week, it was one of those today I learned things on Reddit that the basic premise of Nacho Libre is actually based on a true story. Fray Tormenta, like the Father Storm in Mexico, he wrestled for 23 years to support an orphanage. Like it was a little kind of side thing.
Was he also a white man pretending to be Mexican?
No, not in that case. But no, yeah, there was a real thing, and apparently it's the inspiration for King, the Tekken character as well. So that's cool because I didn't know that weird wrestler Lion Man or whatever he is was wrestling for was fighting for an orphanage too. That's the backstory in those games because there's really no worthwhile backstory in any of these things. But enough about that. Let's actually talk about real wrestling that happened this week.
Yes. Let's start with the beginning of the week. Because I watched Raw. I generally turn it on as background noise, but I actually mostly paid attention to it this week. And we have a new champion yet again. Bobby Lashley is now the WWE champion. I know he's not your favorite, so I wanted to get your take on that.
Watching that last pay-per-view, it actually was a good match. The triple threat that he had, I guess it's interesting. And I guess the idea is that they're going to give Drew McIntyre his real moment in front of real fans that really exist, assuming that they're actually going to sell tickets. But it sounds like they could just move it to Texas instead if somehow they can't do it in Florida. Because that's going to be 100% open by then. Yeah, I mean, I'm not excited about Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. It'll be fine, I guess.
Well, I think the biggest issue just there is that if that's where they're headed, they really need to pull the reins on Bobby Lashley constantly calling out Brock Lesnar, because it's sort of counterproductive to any sort of feud build with Drew. The other thing that really bugged me, I mean, it was inevitable that at this point that Bobby Lashley was going to get that belt. They played up this whole waited for 16 years thing, and truthfully, he didn't. He left. He wrestled for 2-3 other companies. He had 2 different MMA stints. He didn't wait for 16 years. He didn't get the belt. He took his ball and went home, and then he finally came back.
Yeah.
What really bothered me was the way they did the Miz. I mean, he's been the company guy for 10 years now. And everything he did on Raw, short of getting absolutely squashed by Bobby Lashley and losing the belt, was amazing. He was supposed to defend the belt when the show started. He talked his way out of it. And then they were like, you've got to come out here. You've got to defend it at 9:00.
Yeah. So he had a kidney stone or something?
Yes, before I was so rudely interrupted by computer failure. He was in the back, Bobby Lashley was in the ring. They were ready to go, and they find Miz in the back, acting like he's got a kidney stone. He can't wrestle. Basically, they're like, okay, 10:00. If you don't go to the ring, put on this match, defend this belt, we're just going to strip you of it and give it to Bobby Lashley. This is ridiculous. So at 10:00, he goes to the ring. The bell rings. He rolls out immediately, grabs his title, and runs off. Wow. Ultimate heel shit. The kind of shit that you don't get to see anymore. They let him do it all in one night.
Wow.
And then Shane McMahon sent a bunch of lumberjacks out to hold him in the ring. And then it was literally like a 30-second squash match. It was fucking ridiculous. Sorry,
Wow.
I blew my efforts at the PG era with my luchador mask on. It got me a little heated. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't care that Bobby Lashley is the champ now, but that felt like they wasted all of that they did with the Miz. Like, let him pull that shit until Payback or Fastlane, not Payback, Fastlane. Like, because hell, you don't have anything else that's entertaining. At least the Miz was doing something different. So yeah, unless you're going to bring the Fiend back so that I have something worth tuning in for each week, like that was kind of a waste of everything they did with him Monday.
Yeah, and especially when you think, I mean, on one hand, they're like, okay, we've got 3 hours to fill tonight. We actually don't have to do too much, but still, that's a lot. So, yeah. Well, what about Wednesday? I didn't watch NXT, but I know you've got some highlights and some lowlights. It sounds like. Tell me what happened there.
Well, there were some weird things. They are essentially recycling the Undisputed Era needing therapy because of Dexter Lumis thing. This time, instead of Kyle, or not Kyle, Roddy, it's Austin Theory that needs therapy because he's, the Dexter Lumis thing. Except that somehow Dexter Lumis has convinced Austin Theory that they're like best buddies and they went on vacation together. He didn't get kidnapped. He's got him like brainwashed or something, so he thinks he's his best friend. So they're at least doing something a little different with it, but it hasn't been long enough since Dexter Lumis caused somebody to need therapy. So that was kind of a weird choice. Outside of that, Finn Balor and Roderick Strong had a match. It was a good one. They're both incredible in the ring. It was nice to see them give Roddy a lengthy match. With Kyle O'Reilly getting all the attention. It was nice to have him put on a show with somebody else. Next week, Balor defends the belt against Adam Cole.
Nice.
I think there's a possibility that Cole gets the belt, but as I wrote in Fantasy Booking, that's because I've got much grander plans for Finn Balor. WWE, I already wrote all the dialogue too for the promos, so if you just want to pop in there, get your ideas, I've got you covered until SummerSlam. Other than that, fantastic tag wrestling is the one thing I can definitely say from NXT this week. The women's Dusty Cup winners, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, got their tag title shot. Excellent match, even for a match that had Nia in it. It was really, really good. The ending sucked. It was one of those where they've got to do this match again, sort of botched BS endings.
So what happened? I didn't look it up.
Okay, so
how did it end?
Shayna,
can you even describe it?
Shayna had Dakota Kai in the clutch, and Dakota Kai somehow didn't pass out. In the clutch, she crawled all the way to her corner and made the tag. Well, Raquel Gonzalez got in and broke up the hold, and then she went over and tried to kick Nia off the apron, but Nia ended up jumping down and pulling her to the outside. They ended up tackling each other over the announce table. When she went to kick Nia, somehow, and I completely missed how it happened. Somehow the referee got knocked out.
Oh.
So back in the ring, Shayna still didn't know a tag had been made, so she locked Dakota Kai back in the clutch. And Adam Pearce came out with another referee and sent him down there to like call the end of the match. So she knocked out the competitor that wasn't the legal person. All the while, the commentary desk is like pissed off as hell about it, just like I was watching it. Because it really did. They put on a great match, and it was sort of a bummer that was the ending that they went with. So I'm curious to see how they fix that. The other tag match, Ciampa and Thatcher took on the tag champs of Lorcan and Danny Burch. Fantastic match. I think that
for the title shot.
no, I don't believe it
Match.
was a title match. I don't believe it was. Um, it may have been just because MSK is hurt. They were supposed to defend the titles, but I don't think it was a title match. But in any event, excellent match. Yeah, I think that they got all the positive feedback from the Pete Dunne Finn Balor match, being a little more slow, a little more methodical, and they put four guys in the ring in this one that could absolutely do that in a tag match and keep it entertaining. So that was an excellent match. I very much enjoyed that.
Wow.
So aside from the clip I saw of Shaq taking a monster bump.
Yeah, speaking of entertaining tag matches, I had very low expectations, and I think that's exactly what anyone should do going into any of these celebrity matches. We've seen Shaq wrestle in person at WrestleMania 32, but he was in a multi-man match, and he was this tiny to where we think it was Shaq. Like, it was one of those types of things. I'm still not convinced we saw Elton John at that one concert that one year in Atlanta. So we've seen him, and he did well in 32, but partially just because he's a big guy, like, it's hard for those guys to stay in shape, but he moved around pretty well. He's in good shape I think he's probably up in the upper end of 40 or maybe early 50s.
Yeah, and for a guy his size that played basketball for all those years, the fact that he can still move like that, given all the knee problems he's got to have, is a little amazing.
So he put on a great show. Like, he had it. Honestly, I think the weakest part of that whole thing, I think Red Velvet's great. Cody's great. Shaq was great. Jade Cargill still comes off a little wooden to me. She's definitely got some fire. I just feel I don't really feel that she feels what she's saying. Like, I don't think she's there yet.
Yeah.
She's not being authentic, I don't think. I think she's playing too much of a bad guy. I don't know. Maybe that is, but she just feels like a little stilted there. But I mean, she's impressive, and she did a good job in the match. That's just my only thought. It's just like her promos are a little weird and just don't quite get there. And then they just also make fun of Cody's package, I guess, which is just also weird to see on television. And then not the Attitude Era, but yeah, overall it was great. The women's final for the tournament to determine Sheeta's championship, like, that was an excellent match. It was I think I'm gonna butcher this name probably. Ryu Mizunami, I think was her name, and versus Nyla Rose, and I think that was like the correct choice on the Japanese side, because I mean, short of Aja Kong, who's also just physically impressive, like, she's kind of bigger and sturdier and stuff, and a really good match against Rose. Like I thought they did an excellent job, and I'm excited to see Sheeta against someone with definitely a different style of match than maybe we've seen for if it was Sheeta versus Britt Baker, or Thunder Rosa even, like, because we don't want to see Nyla Rose again, so I'm glad that doesn't happen. But yeah, it's interesting. It seems like all the results of this tournament has been kind of not expected, so that's been kind of refreshing. Not like any of these WrestleMania plans where you kind of know exactly where everything is going right now. But yeah, it was a good show. And it brings us to the next thing we're going to talk about. Paul White showed up, and he said that he's got the scoop on a huge star that's going to change the game, and he just wanted everyone to know he knew it before everyone else. And who could that be? Who could it be, really?
They've had a kind of a proclivity for hiring the older generation here lately. So the more I thought about it today, like we talked about it earlier, it's most likely somebody that he knows pretty well.
Yeah.
I was like, well, who the hell could that be? And I kind of ran through a short list. Like, I don't know that Mick Foley can physically do it, so I kind of checked him out. It's I there's no way in hell that The Rock has time. John Cena's trapped in
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Batista as well. Like they're all these guys are doing movies and TV, and like yeah, they don't have time to balance this. Even like women's wrestler, she played Tamay, the welfare queen on Glow. Like she was going to go away until that, and she did go away for partially because of injury, and then partially because she was doing Glow, and then they didn't ultimately finish because of COVID. But she went away. So yeah, Awesome Kong.
Now, I didn't know that he referred to it as a huge game changer, because I find the word game incredibly
Okay, I don't know
interesting.
if he said game changer, but yeah, he did say huge, which just makes me think that you mentioned it could be Zelina Vega, which would be the irony of ironies if it's the
She's very
hugest thing,
small.
and also yeah, it made it sound like it's someone that's going to move the needle, someone that's going to like get ratings or get really make AEW even more legitimate than they already are at the moment. But I don't know who's available, who's willing and stuff. And CM Punk shut the door as well, which of course people were going on and on about. I just I mean, I would love to be Cena. That if dream scenario, if no one was working on TV or movies or anything like that, seeing Cena mix it up with all those people, tagging with Jurassic Express for some reason, I feel like he's a guy that would tag with them. I think he would have a great time with Dark Order. Like,
I think Juan Cena could join the Lucha Bros.
Death Triangle. It'll be Death Triangle. Won't even explain why the fact that there's four guys in Death Triangle. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know. I mean, like Dream for me, obviously, I'm still hung up that I didn't get X Pac in the Royal Rumble. Um, but I also kind of went back, based on that train of thought that it's got to be somebody that he knows. And I was trying to think who else was NWO outside of Hogan, obviously, because Tony Khan has already kiboshed that like to
Yeah.
hell and back. There ain't no way in hell he'll ever even get a ticket unless he buys it, and even then, Tony Khan may kick him out. Um, so
I mean, you're talking about Razor Ramon and Kevin Nash at that point, and then it's just like, I mean, there were a billion people in NWO, but like
I
neither of those guys' bodies could handle anything. Like they didn't keep themselves in together like Sting did. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I don't I mean Conan's got his own thing going on. Is Disco Inferno still alive?
and then we get to the point where it's just like no one's gonna care about these
Yeah.
guys.
I mean,
So
Raven might pop the needle for like two dudes that I know, but that's about it. I mean,
it's gonna be Shane McMahon.
see that
That
well, when you just said game changer, Adam Pierce was the official that came out on NXT. I mean, you say game, and I go straight to the big dog there. Um, I don't know what the deal is with his performer contract as opposed to his executive deal. He's long said, never say never.
Yeah, that would be the craziest of crazy is Shane McMahon. Short of Vince McMahon, which he's not going to wrestle, and that would even be a weirder on-screen thing. But yeah, and I don't want to see that happen. But Shane, I'm welcome. Come Shane, come here.
Although
Let's do this.
if huge was the giveaway, it could just be like the fucking Great Khali or something, and nobody's gonna give a shit unless we get another one of those the Bengali prison death matches or whatever, where Randy Orton almost died like 9 times because the bamboo was cut sharp at the ends.
And you could and you couldn't see anything that was going on. Not
I'd
really.
have been so pissed if I'd have bought a ticket to that show.
uh, well, speaking of shows, we'll talk about the one that you're not going to this week, which I probably jinxed you last week for mentioning that you were trying to get tickets.
There were some. I haven't completely shut the door. There were some on StubHub today,
the forbidden door.
but I can't, in good conscience, give $289 a ticket for a 4-pod if I'm the only one going.
Oh,
They were okay seats, but yeah, I mean, if a reasonably priced single were to pop up between now and let's say midday Saturday, I check pretty regularly, so who knows?
Yeah. Well, let's start off. We got the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal. And I can't make out everyone in this image, but we definitely have Uno and Stu Grayson for the Dark Order. Looks like I want to say this is Silver and who's the guy that Silver normally tags with? I think we have 2 Dark Order entries here.
Number 26. I don't know. They're Slipknot to me at this point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Outside of Corey, I don't know any of them. So
we got Santana Ortiz, the Butcher and the Blade. We got Private Party, and then it looks like they have a picture of the Acclaimed on here, but that's not going to be happening because Max Caster is in the ladder match, and or maybe I got it back. No, I think I got it right. Max Caster, and then the other one is apparently nursing an injury, so that tag team's kind of on hold in a way. It looks like he's sticking around, pulling like a Britt Baker type of thing and supporting Max, but he won't be wrestling for a little while.
Is that TH2? Which team?
No, it's like some big dudes. I don't know. Maybe there's guys that are on Dark or something. It's on the. I'm looking at a thing on their webpage, and it's on the far left. I'll share you the link because we have a little chat thing. Yeah, so I'm assuming those guys in it. So who do you want to win? I kind of want to see. To be honest, I want to see Ortiz and Santana. I want to see those guys go for the gold there.
Who are those wild Samoan looking dudes?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm still waiting for them to like really break out this whole God, I'm spacing on his damn name. But I'm a huge fan of Butcher and the Blade.
Yeah,
I think they're fantastic. And I would like to see their whole little group start to little by little kind of get a little further up the card each time.
Oh, Eddie Kingston and friends?
Eddie Kingston. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. Probably because we just named like 100 different wrestlers and it was just all at once. But yeah, I would definitely, out of all of them, like I said, I can't keep up with who any of these guys in the Dark Order are. Once Brody Lee died, I kind of lost my Corey Taylor, and now the rest of them are just the instrumental players in Slipknot. So I don't know who any of them are. But yeah, Santana and Ortiz are great, but I'm gonna pick Butcher and Blade.
I might actually be wrong. That might actually be Top Flight. I think that's actually Top Flight, not the Acclaimed. And that maybe they were never in it.
Oh, on the far right.
Yeah, I get the Acclaimed and Top Flight like flipped every now and then. And then we'll go on to that because speaking of the Acclaimed, the face of the Revolution ladder match, we now have Max Caster in there. So that's Penta, Lance Archer, Cody, Scorpio Sky, and Max Caster with a 6th member of this match still to be determined. So Tony Khan did mention that the huge announcement of who's going to sign is separate from whoever's appearing in this match. The 6th entrant. So it's not going to be whoever the 6th entrant is not going to be. It's not going to be a Brian Cage situation where like last time we had a secret competitor. It could be someone else as well that doesn't wrestle for AEW, but I feel like we're getting pretty slim on who's available left in the independent world. Because ever since there's not anything going on, it's just everyone's kind of working for some company or another
Well, it's a ladder
to have
match,
some
so
sort of career.
if I'm taking a stab in the dark at who it is, I'm going RVD on this one.
Yeah.
I think out of the people I know are in the match, we all know. Well, I don't know if our listeners know. I openly admit I have a wicked man crush on Cody Rhodes. Not even gonna lie,
to
but
the point where you almost chased him down at Chili's in Las Vegas.
yeah, I was also in a state where I just don't know where my driver's license ended up.
Yeah.
I love Scorpio Sky, and not just because I met him at that weird show in Gwinnett, and he was like the nicest guy on earth. He is a fantastic talent. But truthfully, they have got to do something with Lance Archer, like got to. So this is the start of that. I think, and then they get a shot at the TNT title. So
that's correct.
yeah, let's put that belt on Lance Archer. Let's go back to the open challenge each week, because I think it's believable for Lance Archer to kind of steamroll his way through weekly title defenses. Just looking at him and the way he's been kind of built up. So I'm going to go with Lance Archer.
Yeah, I think that's a good get. I'm just going to automatically go with whoever this sixth person is. That's who I'm going to go with. I think these are all great. Matt's pointing at himself, so we'll see.
Oh no, that's what it's the RVD.
Oh, RVD. Okay, yeah, that's right. Although it would be weird if you show up in an ill-fitting luchador mask and like barely any training. So next we got the big money match: Matt Hardy versus Hangman Page. I'm gonna go for Hangman. I don't want him to lose his money, and Matt has plenty of it. So I think it'd be fine, and he'll find a way. Matt will find a way to weasel out of it anyway.
Yeah, I would. I would actually. I think I would take Matt Hardy in this one, mostly to see Matt Hardy weasel out of having to pay it, and when Hangman loses, we get drunk Hangman. So it's kind of a win-win for the fans.
And I'm sure there'll be some more Dark Order involvement. It is just crazy when John Huber died that just how that group instantly became faces, which they were kind of on their way there, but with being the Elite, but they definitely just instantly became like, how can you stay there? Next we got Brian Cage and Ricky Starks versus Sting and Darby Allin in a death match, or street fight, I guess. Might as well be death match.
It could
have two death matches.
Be a death match, but I think anybody that doesn't assume Sting's getting a win in his first match in however long it's been is putting money on the wrong horse here.
How cinematic do you think this is going to be? I actually thought it was going to be completely cinematic, but then he took those power bombs, and I don't know, man. I think there might be elements of it where maybe they leave the ring and it's like kind of pre-recorded, but I think the match starts in the ring and maybe ends in the ring. And maybe they play a video package they pre-recorded.
I think it was Excalibur. It was either Excalibur or JR. I saw on a podcast said that the trainers and the doctors, Sting is 100% cleared, like can full blown go. I still think they're going to kind of keep kid gloves. Darby's going to take the worst of all the bumps. I don't think they're going to have to go too cinematic with this thing, mostly because Sting's not going to be the one getting hit with everything. And we've literally watched Brian Cage try to kill Darby probably 10 times. The power bomb while he was in the thumbtack filled duffel bag, I thought he was dead. That bag did not move for a while. But yeah, as much as I love Brian Cage, I really wish we could get to the point where he just starts defending that FTW championship. So that he's got something else to do. Because this whole Darby Allin thing, I don't think it's the right fit for him. But there's no way I'm voting against Sting on this one.
I mean, you're talking about Archer winning the Face of the Revolution ladder match. I actually think a Lance Archer Darby Allin match would be quite fantastic.
I do too. I think
Yeah,
there's
I think that'd
a
be
lot
great.
for a semi bigger. Well, Lance Archer's a decently big dude. He's got a lot of mobility. I think they could put on one hell of a show. And Darby takes a beating, and he works well with big guys. So I'm with you. I think that would be a hell of a match.
Next week we have Hakurashita versus Ryu Mizunami, or at least I'm assuming that's who it is, and I'm not just actually remembering the name of the person that lost yesterday. I mean, I'd love Shida. I can't vote against her. I think it will be a very good match because it is a different body type for her to go against. So I think that'll be quite. She's going up against a powerhouse, so I think it'll be quite a good match. And I'm kind of interested to see where they go from there. Like, honestly, if this huge game-changing announcement, it would be amazing if it's some kind of like huge get on the women's side. The only person I could think of really though that would fit that would be like Becky Lynch, really. And I don't think she's ready quite yet to come back from maternity leave, and I don't think she's gonna abandon WWE when she kind of figured it out.
Yeah,
over there.
I think after the bloody face, they extended her for like a decade. So
yeah.
but
I don't know where they go from there. The championship tournament was good. It was really good, and then but I don't know like who's the next challenger and stuff like. So hopefully they open that door. Hopefully they set some stuff up for what's next instead of just kind of like blindly going ahead. NWA Power is starting back up soon, so that does mean that it does mean we might see less of Thunder Rosa. At least it seems like the door is still open between NWA and AEW for sure, with the show, because I think they're appreciative of kind of them keeping it alive a little bit. But I'm a little bummed that we might see less of Thunder Rosa, at least on Dynamite. I know you should be able to find her on other things, but still. Do you have any? I mean, you didn't watch last night's Dynamite yet, so you don't have really a thought of her competitor, huh?
No, I mean, I don't imagine they're going to have Shida lose, but then they've sort of backed themselves into the same corner that NXT has with EO. When you've just run wild over the entire locker room, you have no believable contenders, and then that's when your division gets stale.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw out a wild ass guess as to who could be the huge get that Big Show has mentioned. Well, Paul White has mentioned
the Go Big Show. That's his new name now.
I'm gonna
corporate
say,
synergy.
Bring us a legend, man. Let's sign Trish Stratus to come out here and challenge for this shit. I mean, she proved she can still go.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, let's do something. And I really would prefer. I'm with you. I would prefer that their huge get is on the women's side, because as we've kind of pointed out, there are a lot of people on this men's roster, and not a lot of them have much to do. That's why you get these weird Brian Cage versus Darby in the 92nd time they've had a match. Like, because they have nothing else to do with Brian Cage, but they're probably paying him a little more than most. So you got to do something with him.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of people on Dark too that they've built up, and there are some women over there, but not as many women as there are the men. So I think even CM Punk, someone did a Q&A this afternoon, and he was like, he already shut down. He's like, no, it's not me. And he was like, I think they should just use who they have, like, but hopefully it'll be someone cool. But he acknowledged too that they have a pretty large roster at this point.
I mean, the only thing I can think of, truthfully, is if Okada shows up. Like that. It's literally the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, for me that would be huge. I have an Okada action figure coming really soon, so I'm really excited about that. To see him more often would be great. But he was wrestling just like I think last night, live, so in Japan. So there isn't the 2-week quarantine thing like there is there, so he could come this direction and not be too, like, he could just wrestle the next day at that point. But
Florida.
Yeah. Thanks, Florida. But yeah, it would limit him as far as going back to Japan.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's coming next. There is the tag team championship match with Young Bucks defending against Chris Jericho and MJF. To me, Young Bucks retain here. Like, I think I think they did a little Q&A thing, a little press conference thing, and Bischoff showed up to ask, like, why would you attack someone's parents? Like, that's just, you're just firing them up for no reason. You could have had a much easier match. So I agree, and I think, Sammy Guevara might rear his head as well to help the Young Bucks in some degree. So I would be very surprised if it's MJF, because typically there's not too many title changes at all, with the exception maybe of the TNT Championship. That's the one that changes the hands the most. So I don't really expect that to change either. And then finally we have the exploding barbed wire death match. Kenny Omega defending against Jon Moxley.
Before we get to my nightmare match, I think this is going to be where MJF turns on Jericho, and this has all been a ploy by MJF and Sammy. I think they have been masterminding this thing the whole time to get Jericho the hell out of the way.
Wow, yeah. That's actually kind of amazing. So we'll see. I'm interested to see if that happens.
I keep sending the resume to Stanford and nobody calls. So.
Well, I guess now you got to send it to Jacksonville, right?
I would, but then I'd actually have to send mail to Florida. And just Tony Khan, please buy a team somewhere else. I can't do Florida this often. You guys and my family, I can't.
Well, you'll have a new memory. If you do end up getting tickets, you'll have a new memory linked with Florida in such a way that it's exploding barbed wire death match. At least the last death match you were at, you will not be front row, even if you get really good tickets.
Yeah, no. So at the very best, I'd be like 125 yards from this thing. So it's just going to look like, I don't know, like a firecracker went off from my seat. I don't do well.
I mean, it's definitely the paternity leave match, right?
I think so. I think he's going to take a bump that is going to make me real uncomfortable because I don't do well with it. I think it's, the last time that they got barbed wire involved between the two of them, I had a real hard time getting through that match. Full Gear.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, they both went onto that what looked like a bed frame that was just barbed wire. Yeah, that messed with me a little bit. But yeah, I think he's going to take a super gnarly bump. This thing's just going to end by, they're just going to call it. Probably, I guess, on a knockout. There's no way Kenny loses that belt this quick.
Yeah. Well, we do say paternity leave, but Mox just announced another match with Josh Barnett, Bloodsport, the week of WrestleMania. So he's kind of sticking around. He's not really going away, but maybe he might disappear from AEW for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to survive to get to Bloodsport too. So,
yeah,
I've never, outside of that Full Gear match, I know Jon Moxley's previously done some real gnarly matches. I had Pro Wrestling Crate sent me one of those DVD compilations, and I got about 10 minutes into it and was like, I can't do any more of this shit. So I know he's willing to go a little further than you'd like to see on, a major program. I don't know what Kenny Omega does in these sorts of matches. I don't know that he's had a whole lot of them.
He's had some weird ones in DDT, like back before he really made a name for himself in New Japan. In Japan against Ibushi, he had some real crazy ones with some real gnarly bumps, but not like this, not like these matches, but still, he's done some crazy stuff. But yeah, maybe not as much as Moxley, maybe not as many death matches. So yeah. Well, that's kind of it. I mean, I'm gonna be real nervous, like you said, watching that last match. It's just one of these things where there's like, I know these guys are trained professionals, and maybe we're just scarred after watching David Arquette not handle it well. Like, at least these two guys, they're gonna do their best, and it's gonna be as safe as it possibly can. Also, I don't think Tony Khan would really let it happen if there wasn't some degree of safety, especially after the Matt Hardy bump from a few months ago.
Yeah, and for Matt Hardy, that was like, should have just been like nothing.
Yeah,
but that's the difference an inch makes. So
yeah, that's what she said.
God, I hope not.
Hey, like, review, subscribe. You can follow us on social media. You can go to thedarkmatch.com and maybe read an article if we put one up, or at least just see what other podcasts we've released. But yeah, Matt put up a fantasy booking article the other night, so if you haven't had a good chance to read that, take a look at that. But we'll be back next Tuesday for our Revolution reactions.
And I'll tell you what happened on Raw.
Yeah.